The Doe John last name first, all block capital letters?
It's me.
I think the first name is upper lower,
That's
but
correct.
the last name is upper.
Well, it's still, it falls in this category, I believe. Anyways, the highest and most comprehensive loss of status. This occurred when a man's condition was changed from one of freedom to one of bondage, when he became a slave. You don't think they're making you a slave or trying to? It swept away all the rights of citizenship and all family rights.
It's interesting to note the license is the media, capitis diminutio media, but the court docket is the maximum. When you go to the
Yeah.
court, then it's all capital letters, the whole name.
Right. The important thing to know is this is like Ford Motor Company. None of it applies to us, okay? They're making internal rules and regulations for Ford. Has nothing to do with us. What happens when you get involved in internal rules and regulations for Ford? When the Parliament uses general words like all persons or all residents, they're only talking about persons or residents who are properly within their jurisdiction. So they like to use those words and sheeple just follow right along. Parliament can only implicate a sovereign citizen by express mention or clear implication. Supreme Court of Canada. A sovereign is not a person as far as the statute's concerned. There are two jurisdictions, the geographical landmass, the juristic federal unit, a juristic person's a corporation. The word Canada is used in section 91(1) of the Constitution Act, does not refer to Canada as a geographical unit, but refers to the juristic federal unit, okay? So all of the Constitution is only talking about corporation. The usual form of juristic person, the only one at common law is a corporation. There's 3 jurisdictions in the US, at least 3. But the important thing to remember in the US is that in their statutes, the only one they're talking about is the District of Columbia. That one actually, I gotta find that.
Sorry, could you repeat that, please?
Repeat what?
The District of Columbia, the comment you just made.
If you read in their code, in their title, United States Code, the only time, when they're talking about United States, if you look in the definition section, it's always talking about the District of Columbia.
The corporation,
Right,
domiciled in the District of Columbia?
yeah,
10 square miles.
yeah, 10
Well,
miles
actually, no,
square.
it's domiciled in Puerto Rico, isn't it not?
That's-
Part of it is, I mean, the IRS is domiciled in Puerto Rico, but you know, actually, see, Puerto Rico was conquered too. So that's under martial law. That's, I think that's probably why they put it down there, because it's under martial law.
Territory.
It's territory, yeah. Travel on a public highway, sovereigns have the right to travel on the public highway with their property, and they're not subject to regulation in any way. Have unimpaired access to the first 8 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. I can show you U.S. court cases to say that U.S. citizens don't have access to the first 8 amendments to the Constitution. Subjects do not have access to the first 8 amendments. This is Title 18, United States Code, Section 31. The term motor vehicle means every description or carriage or contrivance propelled by or drawn by mechanical power and used for commercial purposes on the highways of the United States. And then it even defines what commercial purposes is. Carriage of persons or property for fare, fee, rate, charge, or other consideration. In doing this, I shall have occasion incidentally to events how true it is the states and governments were made for man, and at the same time how true his creatures and servants at first deceived, next vilified, and at last oppressed their master and maker. Let a state be considered as subordinate to the people, and let everything else be subordinate to the state.
Like corporations.
Okay, so now we're going to go into asserting sovereignty. So basically what we've gone over so far is that we're all sovereigns, and the courts have us, or the government has us, in what they view to be contracts. And we have to defeat those contracts if we want to be free. We got to assert our sovereignty. We've already learned about who we are. We're going to learn about how to assert our rights now. And this is a procedure that will build a case against our public service that will stand up in court, and they will know exactly what you're doing. And that's what I want, quite frankly. There was other guy that was at this seminar here, the other one that I had, and in Edmonton, and his father was a cop, and he remembered that his father is sitting at the kitchen table with his buddies building cases against people. and so when you do this, they know that's what you're doing. And quite frankly, I hope that I never have to go after them. I'd rather they just honor their oath of office. And but if I do have to go after them, I'll have my foundations laid, and I will be able to go after them. I've been studying law for over 20 years. Somebody told me about the two classes of citizens in the early 1990s, and I told them they're crazy. They produced some court cases that talked about it, and I thought that's just the most fantastic thing there is, and I had to look into it. In the mid-1990s, I was in Toronto, working for Bombardier on a contract, and I met a guy by the name of Patrick Ellis. Patrick Ellis taught me court procedure and how to file a lawsuit. It was about that time that the customs thieves at the border here at Coots went and stole my truck. So I went and filed some lawsuits in Ontario, and that was the beginning of my lawsuits. I filed several lawsuits in Ontario, been to the Ontario Court of Appeals twice. Yes?
Are you going to cover how you don't pay filing fees? What's your basis on that, just real quickly?
Well, first of all, I don't have any income. Okay? You know, income's corporate profits, eh?
Okay.
I can send you the memorandums. You send me an email, and I'll send you the motions, or the paperwork, the affidavit I sent to the Supreme Court that where I didn't pay any filing fees. If anybody, you got my business cards are right there. You send me an email, you ask me for something, don't expect me to remember it. You have to send me an email and ask me for something, but I'll send you documents or whatever you need.
In Canada, it's called informa pauperis.
Yeah, it's the same in the States.
Means that if you're poor, you get to provide the information for free.
And so they'll actually give me that in the Supreme Court and elsewhere. They give me that paperwork. They want to know your income, your assets, your liabilities, your spouse, your children, and I just put NA in all the blocks, and then I attach an affidavit that says that I don't have a spouse because a spouse is a person. I don't have any income because income's corporate profits. I don't have any assets because assets are part of a corporate balance sheet, and I'm not a corporation. And I don't have liabilities because that's part of a corporate balance sheet. But I say I do have lawful money. I have much more than $21 in lawful money, which is 21 Silver Eagle silver coins. And I have absolute title to land because I brought forward all the rights and privileges of the land patent. So I have absolute title to land. And actually, talking about the money and the land, I used to put everything else in there, and they would deny it sometimes. And ever since I started putting in the fact that I have absolute title to land, and I have more than $21 in money, lawful money, real money, now they accept it every time. It's amazing how that works. But anyway, so if you want to send me an email, you got my business cards, there's some of them up here. Send me an email, I'll send you copies of anything you want.
Informa pro.
Pauperis.
It's called, yeah.
Just like pauper, and then IS on the end.
Yeah, it's Latin for, yeah. So I tell them I'm not a vagrant. I tell them that I have a wife, but she's not my spouse, and I have children, and I just go down the list. I've filed numerous lawsuits in the U.S. and I've taken them to the U.S. Court of Appeals, the Ninth Circuit, the Fifth Circuit, the Second Circuit, and the D.C. Circuit. I've taken 2 cases to the U.S. Supreme Court. In 2004, it was recommended to me to get some Rice McLeod's material. Rice McLeod was Attorney General for the Republic of Texas. Rice McLeod is a very down-to-earth way of explaining the law. Rice McLeod really helped me to see what was going on. I knew some things that were happening, and I understood, about the 2 classes of citizens, but I really wasn't able to put the whole picture together until I saw Rice McLeod's videos, and it really helped me to, and listen to his CDs, it really helped me to put it all together. And I I don't know how much you guys know about the Republic of Texas. In order for any sovereign nation to become part of another sovereign nation, there has to be a treaty of annexation that's done. In the Republic of Texas, you know that Texas was a republic way back when, right? Okay, well, the Republic of Texas actually did do a treaty of annexation. And they sent it to the U.S. Senate for approval and adoption. And the U.S. Senate shelved it. They didn't adopt it or approve it. They went and actually did a House Joint Resolution, which is not approval and adoption. And so the Republic of Texas still exists. And it's been sitting there in dormancy, and a bunch of people figured this out, and there was a couple court cases that even the Texas Supreme Court even said that this is the case. And so they decided that they would bring the Republic of Texas out of abeyance, which means dormancy, and start operating it. And there's there's statutes in the state of Texas that says the state of Texas has to do what the Republic of Texas tells them. And I was Speaker of the House of Representatives for the Republic of Texas for a year and a half. And we used to pass legislation. We would serve it on the state of Texas, and then the state of Texas would start doing what we told them to do. And it's amazing how that works. And so, and that's why, when I get to this de jure government stuff, we can do the same thing here. There's nothing, our government is sitting here. We have a bunch of criminals that are running the government, and they know they don't have a shred of authority. Matter of fact, you read in their statutes, they're saying we don't have any authority. They haven't had grand juries here in decades. That's telling us again they don't have authority to have a grand jury. And so they're waiting for us to step up to the plate and accept our responsibilities. And so we need to start doing that. Anyways, so Rice McLeod had a really good way of explaining it to me that helped me to understand it. Yes?
Just what exactly is a republic? I mean, I have this concept in my mind, but what makes it a republic? Well,
a republic basically means the rule of law. Okay, that's the idea of a republic. Now, in contradistinction to a democracy is mob rule, and they keep telling us, that we have a democratic,
Society.
yeah, it's a democracy. Well, if you're in the matrix, then it is a democracy, okay? Because actually it's a dictatorship, but they don't want to tell you that. So it's just a democracy, and they can manipulate the democracy however they want. And but when push comes to shove, it's really a dictatorship, and I can show you in their own stuff, court cases and things, how it is. We're under martial law and have been for decades. And so republic means the rule of law, and so the law is above everything else, and they have to follow the law. That's the whole idea.
Voting shares.
Sorry?
It's the control of voting shares.
Republic?
Read you the
The
definition.
democracy, it's controlling the voting shares.
Yeah, okay.
It says it's a system of government which people hold sovereign power and elect representatives who exercise that power.
Right. Remember that first court case that I read where it talked about a citizen as a constituent member of the sovereignty, right? And conducted government through the representatives,
So it's
right?
by the people, for the people.
Right, absolutely. And so anyways, in 2006, I moved to Texas, and I got involved in the Republic of Texas. And I was elected to Congress, and then I got elected to be the Speaker. And I was the Speaker of the Republic of Texas for a year and a half before I had to go to New York on another contract.